Good morning and welcome to Dronfield Baptist Church this Sunday morning. My name's Andy Evers. I'm the Family's Youth and Children's Ministry Leader, and it's great to have you with us. If you've been joining us over the past year or so, you'll see that I'm now in church. I'm able to get in on a Tuesday thanks to everyone doing all the cleaning and making sure that we're COVID safe. So I'm able to get into my office and I've come down here to record today's service. So it's lovely to be back in the building, but it all feels very odd at the same time. There are certain things that just aren't quite right. Mrs. Athey not being here, for example. But it's great to be here in the building, and you're more than welcome here on our service. So this is going out Sunday morning, but also in church this morning. We will have, I think, about 30 people, and I'll be repeating what I say to you guys then in church at 10:30 Sunday morning. Going forwards, there's talk of having some outside services, and just to remind you, if you do want to come along on a Sunday morning, please get in touch with Heather, as it books in and fills up quite quick. But we're hopeful that end of June we'll be able to meet fully as a church with COVID restrictions lifted. So fingers crossed that'll happen soon, but you'll get information out via the usual ways from Heather and from David throughout to church. Notices, I haven't been given any to give, other than hopefully as church you will have received an email this past week from me via Heather about Families, Youth and Children's. It's great that we had such a good response for people able to come and help with some of the groups. I had a good chat this week with Joe Smith. There's hopefully the possibility that I'll be able to maybe pass on one or two groups to other groups, people, which is what I'm here to do. I want to do myself out of a job. But our new groups are J3 for the Year 9 pluses, and our Aftershock, which is our youth club with a God slot group on a Monday. Still a very, very short of team. Please have a look at that form that has been sent out. Prayerfully consider if you can help out. Come along, give it a try. You will enjoy it. It is great. I know youth work sounds scary, but our youth here are the loveliest youth I've ever come across, and they're a pleasure to spend time with. So please do consider coming along to that. We're going to kick off this morning by singing two worship songs. They are 10,000 Reasons and Here Is Love. So you guys at home can sing as loud as you like. Those in church will have to mutter under their breath and under their masks. I'll see you in a bit with Tom after we've done some worship.
Worship His holy name. Sin like never before. Oh, my soul, I worship Your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing Your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I worship Your holy name. You're rich in love and You're slow to anger. Your name is great and Your heart is kind. For all Your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name. worship your holy name.
There is love vast as the ocean, loving kindness as the flood. When the prince of life a ransom shed for us his precious blood. Who has loved but not remember? Who can cease to sing his praise? He can never be forgotten throughout heaven's eternal days. On the mount of crucifixion, fountains open deep and wide. Through the floodgates of God's mercy flowed a vast and gracious tide. Grace and love like mighty rivers poured incessant from above, and heaven's peace and perfect justice kiss the guilty world in love.
A David Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths. For his name's sake, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all of the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Thank you for that, Paul. Thank you for your message. Thank you very much, Paul. Okay, and you can see we've got Tom. Hiya. Hello, Tom. It's good to see you. I think you're going to go away in a few months, haven't you? Yes, I need to go home. That's right, Tom. I'm afraid needs to go home. So we'll make some sporadic appearances, but probably not every month. No, not every single month. Not every single month. I think that's partly because of the fact that I can only really use Tom when I've got a mask. That's right. Yes, and I've had my 2 jabs, but Tom, you haven't. Oh, no, that's right, Tom. Moving your mouth whilst talking makes it much, much easier. So, Tom, yes, how are you? I'm all right. Fantastic. Did you listen to what Paul said? Yes, I didn't understand fully what he meant. Well, it's funny you should say that, because later on in the service, we're going to look at a piece in the Bible where Jesus says he is the good shepherd. Good shepherd, that's right, he's the good shepherd. We're doing the I am statements, and there the people didn't realise everything that Jesus understood. Oh, so other people don't fully understand what is said in the Bible. That's right, there are lots of bits in the Bible, Tom, that we don't understand. That's fine. But it's good to ask people. But you don't understand this Psalm 23. Let's go through it. Can you remember how it begins? The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. That's right. Jesus is saying he's like a shepherd. And shepherds, back in Jesus' time, looked after the sheep. And we'll talk about that later on in the service. But you will lack nothing. Jesus will provide everything you need. Everything? Yes, and we're going to look in a bit about that. So Jesus is saying he's a shepherd and you will lack for nothing. All right. Then says, he makes me lie down in green pastures. Yeah, green pastures are good places for sheep to be. Oh, lots of grass to eat. That's right. And the Lord will make them lie down. They won't just wander around. He'll make them lie down and rest. And rest, that's right. He makes the sheep rest. And God says we should rest with him and we should rest on him. So actually lying down, being forced to lie down, he makes them lie down in green pastures. God wants to make us relax with him and spend time with him. And if you guys have been looking at the youth thing, I saw that, that's right, on YouTube, DBC Youth, we speak about this week, about lying down with God and relaxing and listening to him. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. That's right. Sheep cannot drink from a waterfall. Why not? Or a fast-running river. Why not? Well, because sheep's noses are so close to their mouth that if they put their head in to drink, the water would go up the nose. Oh, I'd never thought of that. I know, I'm down with sheep. It's interesting, isn't it? So he says that he will lead them beside quiet waters, so ponds and lakes. That's right, ponds and lakes where the water is quiet. And they will drink the water. Oh, that will feel good, especially on a hot day it will. And it will refresh their soul. God says that he will lead us beside quiet waters and he will refresh our soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Okay, a shepherd will guide the sheep and will guide the sheep on the right path, not the path that has got a wolf at the end of it, not a path at the end of a cliff, but down the right path. Oh, right. And even though he walks through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. You are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. That's right. We're going to look at that in a bit. There's nothing to worry about. If Jesus is with us, if God is with us, even though we go through tough times, we need to fear no evil. We don't need to worry because he is with us. He's with us all the time, that's right. And his rod and his staff are there to attack animals, but defend us as well. And also to comfort, to look after us. Basically, what God's saying, what the Lord is saying in Psalm 23, is that he will look after us regardless of anything. Oh, thanks, Andy. That makes much more sense. Well, I hope it does. And you're going to go and sit down over there. Yep, and join in the rest of the service. That's right. You can join in the rest of the service and listen to what else we've got to say. But for now, I need to look at my sheet. We've got another song. We're going to sing The Lord's My Shepherd. So all about Psalm 23. We're going to sing that. Okay. Bye, Andy. Bye, everyone. See you later. Bye, Tom. We'll see you later. See you at the other side of this song.
My shepherd, I'll not want. He makes me lie in pastures green. He leads me by the still waters. His goodness restores my soul, and I will trust in you. Trust in you alone, for your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home. He guides my ways in righteousness, and he anoints my head with oil. My cup it overflows with joy. I feast on his pure delights, and I will trust in you alone, and I will trust in you alone, for your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home. And though I walk the darkest path, I will not fear the evil one, for you are with me, and your rod and staff are the comfort I need to know. And I will trust in you alone, and I will trust in you alone, for your endless mercy
Today's reading is John 10, verses 1 to 18. I tell you the truth, the man who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The man who enters by the gate is the shepherd of his sheep. The watchman opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Jesus uses this figure of speech, but they did not understand what he was telling them. Therefore Jesus said again, I tell you the truth, I am the gate for the sheep. All who ever came before me were thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. He will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd who owns the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me and I know the Father. I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father.
Huge thank you to Nat for reading that. I am very fortunate to have Nat, my eldest son, who will read anything for me when I've got no one else to do it. So thanks, Nat. I'd also like to take this chance just to thank you as church for all your prayers and cards and flowers for us as a family in the past 3 weeks. It's been a tough time for us all with the passing of Becca's mum, but we know that she is with her Lord and we know that she's at peace. I just want to thank you for the love and the care and the prayers, and it just again reinforces why we are part of this fellowship, because of you and the love that you've shown us. So from Becca and all her family and her dad and her sister and her brother in Australia, thank you for your care. We really do appreciate it. So, as Nat's just read to us, we're looking at the I am statements. I've been following these through for the past, I think, year and a bit now. We're now up to whatever, I think this is number 5. I am the good shepherd. And it appears in John 10, 1 to 18, but equally it is reflected in Psalm 23, as we've looked at already with Tom, who's having a kip next to me now. But twice in this passage, in verse 11 and in verse 14, Jesus says that he is the good shepherd. He doesn't just say it once, he makes the point of saying it twice. And he then reiterates through why he is the good shepherd. And the people don't understand, his disciples don't understand what his meaning is behind it. And he then goes into more detail to re-explain it. And I know that sometimes I read the Bible, I don't fully get it, as Tom did earlier on in the service. And it's good to read around it and speak to people. I phone Andy up or speak to Andy and just go, what's this? Or look on YouTube and read around and find out stuff. So I'd encourage you to make sure that you've got people you can do that with, people you can turn to and speak with, or Bible study groups. We've got some in church. If you want to join them, let Andy know, and we can connect you with other people. But in this whole passage, Jesus is talking about a shepherd. Now I think of shepherding. My brother in northern Sweden has got friends who are shepherds, but they're not sheep herds. They're reindeer herders, and they herd reindeer out in the north in the snow, and they use their dogs and they use their 4x4s and they use helicopters to round up sheep. And of course, this is not what Jesus meant. And I think of the Highland shepherds. I speak with Matt Pocock, who's obviously in charge of a lot of the Highland areas for the National Trust here in the Peaks. And the guys there will use quad bikes and will use their dogs. And this is not how it was, and this is not the same context to how it is for these guys who are listening to this as Jesus talks about being a shepherd. So I just want to spend a bit of time just reflecting in on what it meant for them. And I know for a lot of you, you will have grown up in a church and you would have this view of shepherds. And I've spoken to 2 friends this week who've grown up in the church and have had the view of a shepherd as the view that Jesus had. They'd grown up in the church and had always heard about shepherds, and they'd always referenced it to Jesus through church. And for someone who didn't grow up in the church, I heard of shepherds, and it's modern day shepherds. So I'm sorry if I bore you. I know I do some people. Bear with me. I'll try and rattle through it quickly. So as you read through that chapter, feel free to pause me and give it another read, or rewind and listen to Nat. We need to know the context. The context is that these guys would have been a shepherd for life. They would have known these sheep for the sheep's lives. So Google tells me a sheep can live for up to 10 years. These sheep would have been born as lambs with this shepherd and will have grown up and spent their whole life with that shepherd. And they would basically, back in Judea, would have been used for their, not for food as such, for mutton, but would have been used for their sheepskin, for their wool. And this shepherd would maybe be with 30 or 40 sheep. And we talked a few months ago about the shepherd being the gate and being in that corral. If you didn't see that service, go back and look for it. We talk about Jesus being the gate. They got that the shepherd would protect those animals, protect those sheep, and be with them. And the first bit we hear is that the shepherd would be with them. And hopefully the words are going to appear up here, I hope. That the shepherd would be with their sheep. He'd be with their sheep every day. He wouldn't just be with them 9 till 10 and go off and come back a few hours later. He would spend his whole time with that flock. That flock would follow him and would go with him. And I'll come on to that in a minute. But if he had to go somewhere, the flock would be with him. He, the shepherd, would be with those sheep the whole time. We see that he would lead them. Wherever he went, they would follow. He would lead them not into danger, but lead them into good space. He would lead them away from danger. He would lead them down paths. He would know the area they were in. He would know what the dangers were, and he would lead those sheep. And the sheep, they would know him. They would know his name. They would not, obviously they wouldn't know his name, but they would know his voice. If they heard his voice, they would choose to follow him. If 2 shepherds got together and their flocks mixed up, they would just move apart and one would call his flock, and they would come to him because they know his voice. The shepherd would sustain them. He would take them to the green pastures. And we've already mentioned about green pastures from Psalm 23. In those green pastures, easy in the UK, just drive out to the peaks. Lots and lots of green pastures for our sheep to be in. But in those Judean hills, it was hot and the ground was scorched. And to find green pasture was not always easy. But those shepherds would learn where it would be, at what time of year, where would the rivers flood, where would it rain more than other places. And they would take those sheep there. They would take them and sustain them with food, but also with water, as I mentioned earlier. Sheep cannot drink out of quick flowing river because the water bubbles up and it goes up their noses. They would go to the still waters, to the quiet streams, and there they would drink. The shepherd would sustain them. The sheep just wouldn't wander aimlessly. They would not follow their shepherd. And the shepherd would carry his rod and his staff. And the rod would be there to hit other animals with, to defend them. If a wolf or another predator was to come to the sheep, that shepherd would take his rod and he would beat the wolf with it. He would use it to physically attack other animals to protect his sheep. And his staff he would use maybe round the neck to pull them out the way, or pull them out if they fall down a crack in the ground. He would use that to guide them. Instead of the sheep running off in one direction, he would get his crook, his staff, and he would stop them going into places. He would fight for them. He would look after them, and he would guide them. And then we hear about the good shepherd. And there's a difference. Jesus says that the good shepherd is the man who owns those sheep. He is their owner. He looks out for them. And there's the on the other hand, the bad shepherd, who isn't focused on the sheep, who isn't fighting for the sheep. When a wolf comes along, he will run away because it's not worth a day's wages to fight and risk his own life. But the good shepherd will risk his life for those sheep. And then we look at the fact that Jesus is saying he is the good shepherd. We look that he will be with them. He is with us. He is here, and he may seem distant at times. I've spoken to someone this week who said they're finding it really tough because they see that Jesus is at a distance. But he is there. He is listening. He's wanting to listen to us. He hears our prayers. He knows what we're going through. He is there with us. He leads us. He shows us where to go. He guides us. He knows us and he sustains us. He gives us what we need to get through. And he knows us by name. He knows me. He knows every hair on my curly head. He knows everything about you. He is there to guide and to protect us. He fights for us. We read in Revelation, he is sat next to the Father, fighting on our side, telling God about how great we are, how wonderful he loves us. And what should we do? We need to follow him. We need to know him and follow him. And I pray that you guys know him. I'm sure lots of you do. If you don't know Jesus, if you know him just as a character who appears in the Bible, if you only know him as this baby born at Christmas, or as this guy who died on a cross at Easter, there is so much more to who Jesus is. Jesus wants to do all these things for you. And I'd really encourage you to get in touch with Andy or myself or another Christian that you may know to delve a bit further into this and who Jesus is as the shepherd. He is the good shepherd. He doesn't leave us. He doesn't run away. He doesn't go, oh, I'll come back in a day or two and check on the sheep. He is there with us the whole time, fighting for us. He is that good shepherd. He's the shepherd who would lay his life down for us. And indeed, he already has. When he chose to die on the cross, he paid that ultimate sacrifice of dying for us, of putting himself in front of his flock, of choosing death so that we can be put right with God, so that we can have a relationship with God, so that we can be friends with Jesus. He wants to be our friend. I know for a lot of you, you've heard this and gone, yes, Andy. We've heard it from Sunday school. We've heard it every year for the past 30, 40, 50, 60 years. I'm sorry. But it's still good for me to come back to it and go, Jesus is that shepherd. He does do all those things. I think they're probably still up there. I may have forgotten those things. I may have forgotten that he leads me, that he guides me, that he sustains me, that he knows me, that he is with me, that he's fighting for me, that he's died for me. I sometimes forget, and it's good for me to come back. So I hope that's helped in some way. What does that mean for us moving forward? I hold on to those truths. When times are tough and he doesn't seem there, hold on to those truths. Times that are great and you can praise and thank the Lord. Remember those truths. It's nice just to come back and just go, yes, this is what Jesus means to me. This is what Jesus has done, laid his life down for me. Sinful me, who falls short and is a pretty darn rubbish Christian at times. He's still got all those things. He still does all those things for me. We're going to end today's service with a time of prayer. If you're live with us, Jill's going to do it. But if you're watching via the internet, please pause me and just have a moment of quiet and reflection. What is it from that chapter that we've just had read that jumps out to you? If it's nothing, then please go back and read John chapter 10. Please go and read the psalm that we had, or go back and listen to it and just wait on the Lord and see what he says to you. Thanks.
the healing stream doth flow. Let the fiery, cloudy pillar lead me all my journey through. Strong deliverer, be thou still my strength and shield. Be thou still my strength and shield. When I tread the verge of Jordan, in my anxious fear subside. Death of death and hell's destruction, land me safe and Canaan's side. Songs of praises, I will ever give to thee. I will ever give to thee.
Thank you for joining us this Sunday morning. We look forward to seeing lots of you face to face over the coming weeks and months as lockdown is lifted. I pray that you have a really fantastic week and that we can catch up again soon. God bless and stay safe.